Hello bellezas, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. Now with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Alrighty, hi everybody. As you can tell by the title, as always, I am going to be reading some more scary stories or paranormal stories that were submitted to me by my subscribers, which is you guys. So thank you so much for your submissions. And if you want to send in your stories, please make sure to send them to my email, beyondbsfparanormal@gmail.com. That is the only place that I read scary stories from, the only place that I check for them, okay? So if you are interested in sending your own, it doesn't have to be your personal stories. As I always say, they could be any of your relatives' stories, it could be your friends, anybody else, co-workers, anyone who just lets you share their stories. Make sure to submit them, send them in to me. That way I can read them here on my channel and you will be featured in one of these videos. Alright, now without further ado, let's go ahead and get into story number 1. Let's go. I hope you guys are all cozied up and that you got your snacks ready, your favorite blanket, your favorite pillow, whatever it is you need to watch these spooky videos. Or your favorite teddy bear. Alright, this one is sent in to me by Wanderer Loves Us. That's the username on here. And she says, this story is called Soldier Ghosts in My Bedroom. Ooh, that's interesting already. Alright, it says, years ago in Brooklyn, New York, when my two uncles were young, they both were heading home before dark, after coming back from the park. Both of them decided to cross the cemetery that was next to it. While they both were fooling around, my uncle Ernesto decided to take one of the small American flags that was placed in front of the tomb. So that night, my uncle Ernesto started hearing someone like humming, and he thought it was my mom or her other siblings making that sound. But he saw all of them were asleep, even his parents too. The next day at midnight, there were a group of ghosts that were soldiers dancing around his room. He thought he was just dreaming or imagining it, but he wasn't. He stood frozen for a few minutes, and then after, he yelled out to his parents in fear. Almost every night there was something. My uncle would say he was seeing more other creepy things too, like a little boy waving at him, and the ghost soldiers kept on appearing in his room. All those nights his parents couldn't even sleep peacefully, after Ernesto kept waking them up scared. So afterwards, his parents decided to hire a priest from the church to bless the apartment. Later that day, his mom told my uncle to go back to the cemetery and return the flag to its grave, after he admitted that he stole it from there. And after he placed the flag back, he never saw any ghosts in his room ever again. Everything was at peace, and a year later, because of that creepy experience, his parents saved up enough money to move out to a different location. Thank you for sharing this other story. And thanks for always entertaining us with these stories, Brenda. Thank you so much for sending it in. That was a good one. I think it's so funny that something so like minimal like that, like disturbing. I don't even know if it would be like considered disturbing someone's grave, but I mean, he did take it and you know, it belonged to whoever was in that tomb, right? But crazy how something like that could have such an effect, maybe. Because even like subconsciously, who knows if he knew that taking the flag was wrong, and then somehow, you know, he started seeing all this stuff because of it, like as a repercussion. But that way, very scary. I would definitely be scared of seeing a bunch of soldiers in my room. But yeah, enjoyed that story. Thank you so much for sending that in. Now let's go ahead and get into story number 2. And then this one is titled My Nanay's story. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And it's titled The Aswang. It says, hey Brenda, it's Kyle again. I'm really glad you liked my last story. My irrational side always gets in the way whenever I want to believe something paranormal happens. So it was kind of refreshing to hear a second opinion. I know I do the same thing. I'm always trying to rationalize everything because if I don't, I will be terrified and I will never be able to live the same again. So I get it. But like I said, I'm going to share with you the story of what happened with my grandma when she was a kid. I asked my grandma the story the other day, and here's what she told me. She lived in the provinces in the Visayas, central Philippines, and when people weren't working, they'd tell a lot of stories about how someone they knew saw an aswang. Quick tangent. I don't know how familiar you are with Japanese myths, but there are several categories of spirits called yokai, and oni are one of them. It's the same thing with aswang. It's an umbrella term. There are a bunch of different types of them, ranging from a demon that eats people at night to a sorcerer who puts curses on people they hate, living somewhere on the edge of town. In the provinces, most people's houses weren't the most secure, but they were good enough. My grandma said they also slept on these woven mats called banig. They're mats made of reed leaves or buri, palm, which is palm, and to a lesser extent, kawayan, which is bamboo. I slept on one before and it sucks. They're super uncomfortable, but that's probably because I'm way too westernized for that. It does make the floor feel cooler though, which is why they use them. That night, my grandma had trouble sleeping and she thought she heard some sort of ruffling and shifting on the ground level floor, like something was climbing, followed by a low groan or growl. To her, it sounded barely human. After about a minute or so, she felt a hand with sharp nails touch around her ankle. Beneath the bottom of the door, she saw what was making the noise. It looked like a mix between a person and a cat or dog. It had straight, wild hair, eyes that glowed like how a cat's eyes do in the dark, and looked like it had sharp teeth. This type of aswang sounded a lot like a were-dog. My grandma also said she would hear people say that a cat was found running and then a huge bird like a big crow or something would fly away behind a house where the cat ran to the days before and after seeing it. If you read more about aswang, shape-shifting like that is a pretty common trait. Personally, I always default to a rational explanation for stuff like this. Like what she saw that night was probably an animal native to most of Southeast Asia and southern China, though rarely, called a binturong or bear cat. But in the Philippines, they only live on an island called Palawan, which wasn't the island my grandma used to live on. So, assuming that's the case, my best guess is that someone brought it there. But my grandma said she clearly felt a hand touch her ankle, and bear cats have paws, so make of that what you will. Now, I'm not calling my grandma a liar because I know she definitely saw something that night, but whenever I hear something cool or interesting like that, my rational side kills the fun. I get that from my mom. So it'd be cool to hear your take on this. So yeah, that's my story for the night. Keep on making these awesome videos and love hearing other people's experiences. Until next time. See ya. Thank you so much, Kyle. That was a really interesting story. And you know, I get the whole like rationalizing of things and being like, oh, maybe, you know, it could have been this bear cat thing. And of course, there's a lot of factors with that. You're like, they only are common in certain areas. Why would they be in this little town? I feel that most animals tend to stay away from where there's a lot of people. You know, even if there are other animals that they're probably hunting, I feel like a lot of the times they, depending on what they eat, they'll try to find that, you know, out further away from civilization, I guess. But yeah, I feel like I'm kind of on the same boat as you in regards to this. I feel like your grandma wouldn't be lying about this, but maybe she just saw what she wanted to see. But the only part that I would be like, you know, it wouldn't make sense how whatever this thing was able to grab her ankles, unless, you know, the paw kind of felt like a hand. I don't know, but I honestly think that what she saw could have been an aswang or something of the sort, or some kind of creature like that, you know. I always want to believe people's stories, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt in what they saw. And who knows, you know, it literally could have been anything, especially in the dark. But if it was a person, you know, their eyes wouldn't glow like that unless there was a light reflecting in their eyes or something like that, like this They were wearing glasses maybe, I don't know. But that was very interesting either way. A lot of that folklore I hadn't heard about until I think you had mentioned it. And this is Kyle's second submission, I think. And I don't remember what video it was. I've done so many of these videos, but he has submitted a story here before about the Philippines. So very interesting. Thank you so much again, Kyle, for sending that in to me. And I apologize if my voice is a little bit more raspy and shaky than usual. It's been a minute since I've sat down and filmed, and I've just been getting back into the filming space, trying to, but I will never ever be 100% comfortable with it, and I will never be 100% camera ready. So I always get nervous and I always get anxious, and I get really worked up from reading, because I feel like I have a hard time getting a lot of these stories out and without stumbling or reading it incorrectly and making a bunch of mistakes. So I get a little bit worked up, and then my breathing gets kind of labored, and I get the shaky voice, and my voice is also raspy from talking so much, because this is my third video that I'm filming today. So just wanted to let you guys know really quickly. But anyway, let's go on and get into story number 3. This one's by Coco, Manny, and they say, "Hey, so I have the story of when I was young, and one time I was sleeping with my sister, like a sleepover, but I had my tablet and I forgot the charger. So I went downstairs to get it. At the time, my mom had an altar for Day of the Dead, and I was near it. That's where my charger was. So I got it, but I saw a shadow of the devil or a demon, like the red devil with horns, so I ran as fast as I could because I was scared. Anyway, love your vids. I'm eager for Friday again to see the next vid." Sorry, I have been MIA. I'm sorry about that. But that, it was short and sweet. It was a short and sweet story, but there's another story that I read where they saw the shadow of a devil or demon. And I don't know, it could have been a reflection of something, maybe a shape that was on the altar kind of looked like the devil or demon, but I would have the same reaction. I would not even look around to see what it was. I would just dip on out of there. And I don't even know if I could live in that house anymore. In the daytime, I would probably try to recreate that shadow and see if it was just maybe something that made that figure, that was on the altar. That's what I personally would end up doing. But anyway, okay, thank you so much again. I don't know if I already said thank you, but thank you for sending that in. And now let's go ahead and get into story number 4, since that one was a short one, because usually I do only 3, but I'm gonna give you guys one extra one since that one was a little bit shorter. Okay, and now we have another story by my good friend Lily, who submits a lot of stories here. I really appreciate her. And this one says, "Hello to my fellow avid viewers. I am here with another story. Let's all get spooked tonight." This encounter happened on a very hot noon of October 2022. I refused to take the bus that day because it was so hot and I was feeling the makeup melting on my face. I took a cab on my way home from school to get my ID. The driver was this sweet old man who started a conversation by citing fun facts about how the infrastructures we passed by used to look like when he was young. I was genuinely interested and listened attentively. Then I asked if he has any unforgettable experience driving on the roads before they became the city that they are now. He chuckled. "Well, yeah, I don't know if they're still around, but I swear on my life, I've seen one of those things." I sat there clueless, waiting for him to continue. He then proceeded to say that in 1992, I was a private driver to a wealthy businessman. One day, he took all the kids in the family to a beach resort. It was already past midnight when we headed home. The kids were playing so loudly at the back seat of the van, while my boss and I were struggling to keep our eyes open at the front of the vehicle. The road was dark, so I drove slowly until we got to the city center, where there were traffic lights. While waiting for the go sign, I looked around the streets just to see what's up. Turned out that on the left side was a public elementary school. Still waiting for the go sign, I looked up to see the stars. only to see this demonic vampiric entity in a body of a lady standing on the roof of the school. It was wearing a black, long, full-sleeve dress, had ankle-length hair, crazy eyes, sharp fangs with a mouth full of blood. Our eyes met and she let out a devilish grin. I was close to having a heart attack, but managed to drive away when the ghost sign finally came. My entire body was shaking and I was catching my breath. I tried my best to fix my composure because my boss and the kids were my responsibility. Unknowingly, my driving was shaky and unstable. My boss then said, "We can get through this. We will be home before we know it. Let's both try our best to stay alert." I realized that I should stay focused. After a minute, my boss said, "Next time we go out of town, we should be heading back home right after dinner." Now I'm so drained to the point of hallucinating demons, or whatever that was. My jaw dropped. I knew what I saw, but knowing that I was not the only one who did, validated the experience. I did not hesitate to confirm that I saw it too, and even gave a detailed description of its appearance. My boss almost jumped from his seat and asked the kids if they saw anything on the road while catching his breath. The kids paid little to no attention and said, "No, we never looked. We've just been playing." They all got home safe that night, and they took the experience positively rather than being traumatized. But they believe that there's a purpose to why they saw it that night. Thank you for another night of fun. Every single story is great. Let's all keep it up. Thank you so much, Lily. What a wild story as usual. You always have the craziest ones. Oh my god, I don't even know where to start with this one, because whenever somebody can validate what you saw, I cannot even imagine what you would be thinking, what you would be feeling, other than just being like, I just thought I was hallucinating. I thought I was too tired maybe. But the thing is that I've never experienced hallucinating something really from being too sleepy or something. Sometimes I feel like I felt something, but ultimately it was just because I was half asleep, and then I realized later that what it was, but never hallucinating. So whenever people go to that, I'm just like, I feel like your mind doesn't play tricks on you that well, you will maybe see a figure, and then you realize, oh, it's just like a box, or it's just like, something that looked like humanoid, but it was just some random figure, and then you'll double back and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it was. But it's very rare that you're seeing things in full detail, like seeing somebody that is on a roof and then even noticing their grin and noticing that there's blood in their mouth and all of that. I feel like your mind doesn't go to that extent unless you have some other issues going on, and then at that point you're like, do I need medication? And that's a way, I guess, that I can validate this experience, especially because there was somebody else who saw it. Unless this was something explainable, like maybe somebody was up there in a costume for whatever reason, they were filming something, who knows, and you just happen to come across it, and then obviously you're kind of a little bit traumatized afterwards. But anyway, that was such a good story. Thank you so much, Lily. I always appreciate you sending in your stories, because I feel like you know people, or you have your own experiences that I don't even know how one single person can have all of this going on, It's crazy, because even my own experiences, they were cut at a certain time in my life, where everything after that, being more of an alert person, because obviously, as I said, a lot of my experiences take place when I was a child, and those memories are so far back there that I can't 100% confirm or deny whatever it was that I experienced. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much, Lily, and that is going to be the last story for tonight. I'm sorry. I know this one is a little bit shorter than usual, but the stories weren't as long, and I like to save them for more videos. So I hope that you guys enjoyed these stories, because they were really good. They are always really good, and I always really appreciate you guys sending them in and letting me share it with everybody else here on the channel. And before we completely go, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, make sure to leave a bat emoji in whatever comment you leave. That way I know who made it all the way to the end of the video, and I appreciate everybody who does. And before I completely end the video, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. As always, I really do appreciate it, and it really makes my day. And if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment down below, and that's it. And guys, thank you so much again for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. Hopefully I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye.